Okay. My interconnect.
Okay. I guess we're live right now. Hey, everybody. This is the cast, some of the cast from Is God Is, our live streaming radio play production of it, first ever for the Wilma. After every show that we usually do at the Wilma, we do have cafe chats, which are a really I found a really exciting way to connect with the audience and get live like feedback right away. They see what they responded to. It's hard to do that over Zoom, but people will hopefully give us some questions online. But in the meantime, I haven't seen you all since we wrapped the. I've seen you all on Zoom, but seen you since we wrapped recording this thing. I mean, this was like I don't know. It was such a letdown to have not have the live performance of it, and then we kept shifting gears on what we are going to do with this play. Um, I know we kind of have a way of working at the one where everything can change at a minute, but this is like a whole nother level with this. I mean, we've had script changes, set changes. We've never had to like take a fully realized play and make it a whole different thing. Um, so I don't know. Well, I want to talk about that in a little bit, but first, can y'all just like introduce yourselves and who you played in Is God Is? Why don't we start with the twins, Brett and Danielle?
Hi, I'm Brett Ashley Robinson, and I played Anaya.
Hi, I'm Danielle Lene, and I played Racine.
Anthony, Aaron,
Sure, I'm a
the
twin.
other twins, the other twins.
Anthony Martinez Briggs. I played Scotch.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I played Riley.
You're muted, Mel. There you go.
I'm Melanie. I played She, and it's a good thing that other people were operating the technical stuff.
Yeah, and I played Man. We've got like all couples here, Man and She, and the other twins, and two sets of twins. How about that? We're missing Akeem Davis, who played Chuck Hall, and Tasha Canals, who also played Angela. Um, so we, I know I was really excited when the Wilma decided to do this play in the first place, and we were all cast, and we got together and read the script. Uh, I guess particularly for like Brett and Danielle, um, can you talk a little bit about like what it was like to go from the idea of working on this as a regular play and then moving through the process, particularly with your characters, because you two are the only ones that are the in the whole play. Everybody else has little vignettes. So either one of you.
Are you? No. Okay. I think it was really, yeah, reading the play for the first time was really, really incredible. And it has all the things that I really like about a play. Like, I love that the world is so big, so theatrical, that the stakes are so high, that there's like lots of blood and murder and lots of revenge. I think yeah, I think it was a bummer. I mean, like the pandemic has caused so many shifts in the way we think about the world. And I think this was a real tribute to the flexibility of who we are as artists. I think there was a period where I think me and Danielle were like, we're just so sad. We can't do the play. Like, we're like, why can't we do it? Why can't we do the play? And we just want it to be regular. And I think what we found on the other side of that was like a totally new, exciting tool and a totally new way to begin to conceptualize what it means to be an actor and to focus what you would use with your body into your voice, or what it means to like think about what it's like to breathe in that way opposed to being able to physically breathe that way. Or yeah, all those little things were really exciting.
Yeah, and I think yeah, like Brett said, we definitely mourned the loss of not being able to be physically present with each other and everyone. Um, but I think I discovered, and we all kind of discovered this new, not necessarily new, but this different way that we can create art and still have art be present. Um, and I thought after letting go of the loss of being able to do this with everyone in an actual theater, I think it allowed me to really embrace this new way. And so I think it was exciting. I think it was exciting after I let go of the loss.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like I had that worry immediately. Everybody started doing things on Zoom, and I was like, I don't want to do a play on Zoom. Like I just don't. I mean, it's fine for a reading, but like a full production on Zoom was like completely was bringing me down for a moment. And that's a testament to the designers really working and being flexible and having plasticity to their ideas of what a play could be. Yeah, it was fascinating. It was a fascinating journey. I just want to add, if anybody, viewers at home, I guess we're all at home, but people at home, if you have questions for us, drop it in the chat. We'll be responding to those like we were in the lobby at the Wilma. So Anthony and Aaron, you all play the other twins, and what was interesting to me listening to it was how California you two were. Like, I don't know if that was intentional or just something that was picked up from the process. Can you talk a little bit about how you found your characters with Scotch and Riley? How that voice came into, or the dialect, or whatever you want to call it, the attitude.
For sure. You want to start? What's up, bro? How you feeling?
I would love to.
Go
So
for it.
Anthony and I actually talked about the dialect pretty briefly while we were recording. And he was playing with a heavier California accent, I think a Southern California accent. And I remember mentioning to him the nuance between them, even them being twins, was really important to me in the process, because they're still products of their own aspects of their identities. Riley's queerness, Scotch's affinity with poetry, all of these different things, aside from the big aspect of them being twins, like what makes them different and what shaped them down to how they navigate, how they talk. I think that was really important because it shows up in how they deal with Racine and Anaya, and the differences in each one of their psyches, and the unraveling of Riley, and slowly revealing that without giving it away too early. I felt like finding the details within how they talked, because we have such a short time to get all that in. When you listen to it, it's like you've got to put all the nuggets in before I guess we're beyond the point of spoilers, die. That was the challenge. So yeah.
I enjoyed the little bit of conversation that we had, because I was like, we're both just really talented and individual artists. And when you're working from home, it's like, well, that helps. But also there's you are still working with scene partners. And that was actually one of the first moments where we very collectively was like, wait, hold up. So can we just get on the same page about this? And everything else we kind of figured out as we were going. I'll be one to kind of like text while everybody else is working. So I was like, hold up, it's not our scene right now. What do you think about? But I think that one thing that, speaking with Aaron, finding that dialect is, of course, like where we come from, but it's also part of what we're presenting at the time, right? And I feel like even in the scene where y'all are coming, Anaya and Racine, I'm talking to y'all when I say y'all. We're not in a real room. I'm not really gesturing at anything. But when y'all are coming down the stairs, you know, that I'm actually even putting on a different affectation between when I'm like, hey, I'm talking to the stripper twins versus when I'm actually like, Riley, what's up, man? Like, how much to come, what, you know? And I think that it was fun to really use my voice in all those ways and stretching those like, look, all the intention I got is gonna go into this here voice and playing with the dynamicness of it. It was great. I had a good time. I mean, I was also embarrassed when my students were listening to it with me. I was like, oh yeah, that was me. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had this weird, not weird. I mean, I had this really fascinating experience. The more repetitions we got in, because that's the thing. Like, you learn so much in a rehearsal room with other people. Like, just being able to like just respond to their energy in space, to their actual physical body. You're taking in so much more than just the information they're saying. You're picking up body language, and we didn't have any of that. And one of the things I did start to really appreciate was how intimate I got with my own voice. Like how it was a whole different relationship to that thing. I was like, oh, that's me in there. That's all my voice. And Mel, man, oh Mel, when I listened to your scene, when Anaya and Racine come to visit you in the hospital. Oh man, I was like feeling everything in that. How was that for you? Because that's just like an epic story of kind of your creation story, kind of the creation of God in there.
Right. No, it's it was strange to listen to it afterwards, but in the making of it, this whole thing for me was such an amazing actor exercise in creating the circumstances, creating the space, the imaginary, filling out the imaginary world, literally the images in my mind. And still being able to take in the voices and the information that I'm getting through the earphones. It was so strange and disconnected, and that I often found that I could do better work when I literally like closed my eyes, listened, and literally laid back. Like I had to lay back. So I had to create a posture in order to do it as if I were in a bed. So the whole thing is such a rich experience in imagination. And, you know, seeing people who aren't physically in the room with you, and really like seeing the faces, and then what happens when you retrieve a memory, something from way back, and like it hurt my head sometimes trying to
You start to see him in a different way, right? You start to see it with your ears and not with your eyes, and that was such a fascinating experience.
That's exactly right, which I think is why I needed to close my eyes. And even as we were working on it, it was interesting to watch that even when we were working in Zoom, people would turn off their cameras because it was you needed to key into the world that was in the earphones. And every time you came back out into the world that is this screen in front of you, at least for me, it was jarring. So that was fascinating to me.
Yeah, we got some comments, y'all. Mad Horse Theater Company just want to say how much we love listening to you all. One of the best things we read all year. We wanted to come down from Maine to see it, but we were thrilled to hear it. Thank you. And bravo, and bravo, congratulations, the entire cast and crew. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to your performance. That's from, Kanohi Nishikawa. Sorry if I butchered that.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. They had a question though. They wanted to know if we could talk about the challenges of converting this stage production to an audio production. And we had, a design. We had, the set all worked out. We had a costume design all ready to go. So we, at one point we were going to do some type of video production, video art production of it, and then realized we can't do that because we're all stuck in our homes and have limited capabilities. But if you could, talk about some of the challenges each of you had in trying to reconfigure your brain and your artistry into putting it into a radio play.
A challenge that became a really cool thing was using your rig. Whatever equipment you had set up around you, that became your set, or at least that's how I began to think about it. It forced me to get really smart, really quick about my relationship to whatever technology was around me, your relationship between your voice and the mic, and learning about gain levels, and physically maneuvering your mic further away and closer to you, depending on whatever the moment was, knowing when you're screaming. And you also start to realize how much you take for granted when you're just on stage and all the designers and all the crew are just running all this stuff for you, and you don't think about any of it. And all of a sudden it's all up to you because you're the only one directly operating it all. But I mean, I learned a lot because of that. So, I mean, it was difficult at first, but I feel like I've acquired a new skill set because of this specific process that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
I'll jump in on.
Go for it, Mel.
Okay, well, I'll jump in on this in that for me, actually, because the process of getting there, Tom Weaver, who was our set designer, had photographs and images in his original design. And there were aspects of that that I held with me. And I know it sounds weird, but the color yellow really became very important to me. And at some point he had sent, I guess it was a little rendering or something, and I had printed it out, and I would have it right on the side, the yellow room. And, he also sent me a picture of a hospital room and a hospital bed. So I kept those things near me as sort of, available as touchstones. And then the sound design, it was incredible hearing, we didn't watch anything, but hearing the final product, because the sound design is so rich and layered. And it's interesting because when we were making it, they were also making all of those design elements underneath. And so we didn't actually have all of that extra sound when we were working, but having it, just even hints of it throughout our rehearsal process, a little bit of this dropped in, a tiny bit of music dropped in, the sound of footsteps, even if they weren't the end product, all of that helped me, the beep, beep, beep of a monitor helped me to stay in the world. That again was like constantly churning and creating and developing and unfolding in my mind. Okay, I'll shut up now. Anyway, that incredible designers.
Designers helped a lot figure out what the heck we needed to do, because there was a lot of pieces that got added later. Danielle, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I was gonna kind of second what Aaron and Melanie were saying about the challenges. One was kind of really adjusting to this form, because as a theatrical actor, we do a lot of things with physicality and voice and all of those things, and really having to adapt all of the things that we do physically and put it in our voice so that those things can translate. Um, it was challenging, but then I think the ease came when you leaned into that person's voice. And I found it so fascinating, like during rehearsal processes before Tom had sent over some of those, he sent over some ideas of like where these scenes were playing out. Um, I had imagined the same hill that Anaya and Racine are walking up. Like I imagined those things already, just based off of the voice itself, and so it really helped us. It helped me to. Um, I think Tom had said something earlier on about the more the actor believes where they are and they can physically see themselves being present in those spaces, the more the sound translates for the listener, and they can transport themselves to those same spaces. So it really felt like sometimes Brett and I were just in that same space. It's just amazing how sound and just really leaning into listening can help transport, the space. It was beautiful.
I just wanted to say, like, yeah, like the deep listening that this work kind of requires, and the kind of real need for the other person on the other end of the line feels so present. And I feel like I learned and became a much better actor. I think I was like, I know how to listen to other people. Like I'm very good at listening. But this difference between listening to another person and needing their response uh, really like changes something in this piece, and it feels really transformative. I also just like Tom gave us such provocative imagery, and it makes me think about this piece as a whole, that like this piece exists as the actors as like parts of our imagination that we're cobbling together, and it's our belief and our imagination and the designer's imaginations that like give the platform for the audience's imagination. And I think that that's actually really beautiful. Like actually the lack of being able to see us frees the mind to envision what's happening. But much like that's happening for the audience, that was actually also happening for us. So in some ways the experiences were paralleled in a way. And that feels really exciting also. That feels like we're more available in a way that we weren't before.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, I think I was thinking about this the other day. Is like if someone were to just like if we didn't have COVID happening and someone was like, "Oh, just do a radio play," would I have the same experience of like jumping into it? And I think there might have been an amped up need for the other person to be in the room for me because it wasn't possible. And like that need to really listen and pull as much as you can from the other person was heightened, I think, because of this pandemic that we're in right now. And I think that's really fascinating. We got another question. Kanohi Nishikawa. The actors bring so much to the performance using different kinds of breath. She's labored breath, the twins, man's exhale. Did adapting to audio allow you to attend to breath? We do a lot of work at the Wilma working on breath. We have a lot of training. Aaron and Danielle, you haven't done as much of the training with us, but I think some training with us at the Wilma as well. How was your relationship to breath in this format? I know James had mentioned it at the beginning of several of the scenes. Anybody want to take that? Go ahead, Aaron.
In an odd way, I felt like I could take my time a lot more in this format. It felt like a radio drama. It felt like an oral soap opera almost. And when you know that people can alter and comp vocals in post, and you know that there is a technological aspect of this that can kind of clean up if you take too long in a moment or if there's too much space here, that's possible where it isn't on stage. Like, I felt liberated knowing that there's an option of explore what it means to take too much time, take too much breath, have a breakdown for too long. And, you won't know until you go there. And so I actually felt more liberated in this format than I think I would have rushed myself more if we were doing this full out.
I'll jump in on this one. I thought that, first of all, yes, the training that we do is all breath centered, like so much breath work we do. And it was fun to use it so specifically in the production, in the work, and and what would happen, like when you hear someone, like you got so much information from somebody going, or a sigh, or a inhale, it's like, it was amazing. That stuff is often lost on stage. It doesn't mean that we're not doing it, because those reactions are often natural. But in this format, like, it became, I don't know how to describe, like, it was an experience that would run up and down my spine when I would receive a bit of like the exhalation, or understand some information through someone's breath, or, the hesitance, and be able to read that in the breath and then the speech. It's like, it was, it carried tons of information. And I think it always does. I think we don't always pay attention to it because it's not right here. It's not so close, and we're paying such careful attention to those sounds and gathering that information. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens after this, the next time I get on stage with somebody. And because I'm a person who generally like concentrates on the eyes, like I want to say something and see it register in their eyes. That's just me as an actor. Like, I'm always like, I want to know what's happening in the eyes of my partner. But now I'm going like, I want to know what's happening in the breath. Like that's so much information, and it was fascinating to work with it. So when we get on stage again.
There was also lots of, in the script, there was also lots of topography. Is it topography or typography? I don't know the right. Typography. Typography. That was like so beautiful and poetic and gave a natural arc. So there were times where there would be, like, I had one line that was written two different ways. One of them was, I have a baby coming. And the first time I say it to the man, and it's all, there are no spaces in between those words. And then at the end, when I talk to she, there are, like, that the breath is also, we had like a really beautiful guidepost for some of the rhythms of the language that gave you clues on where the breath were. And so in some ways you were reading it like you were reading a musical score or a poem, and kind of letting the impulses that were in the script feed the expression of the line.
Yeah, I found myself, the breath was just moving me in a lot of ways that I couldn't necessarily get away with on stage, because you're worried about other different, things you're looking at. Like, my body was doing things that would express something, completely different because of lighting and staging and costume and whatever. But it was really freeing to me to incorporate, to like just not be seen, like to not have to worry about what my body's doing and just find new things. And like Mel, like I wonder how that's going to be when we are able to get back on stage. We got another question from our very own Lee Goldenberg. This felt so live, even though you recorded it without us, the audience in the room. How did the lack of a live audience influence or change your performance? That's a tricky question. Because we don't really have the show to compare it to with a live audience. Uh, Everybody's looking up to find the thought. What?
I'm like curious because Anaya, don't you have that moment where you look out to the audience? Like, I don't know. That's like the only one it don't make a difference for me. I was wondering if I was like, that's the one moment I could think of.
I tried in that moment to like think that I'm talking to, in my mind, I was like, I'm trying to talk to Tom Weaver or like Kristen, you know. I was like trying to like talk to the actual people who I knew were there. But yeah, I think that not having an audience taught me a lot. Like it was like, oh, like actually these moments are snapshots opposed to like I always say that like doing a play is like running track, like is at a track meet, like you're kind of like you're doing it with a group of people. You come to agree to do it like on a certain time and day and everybody's trying their best. And then you have another and like if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. You have another track meet the next night. Like that it's kind of like you can't stop once you're on it. And the gift of doing this recording is that you get to think about it in such you don't have to think on the micro and the macro at all times in the same way that you do when you're performing on stage. And so I was allowed to just give myself permission to really focus on these moments without trying to think of the whole play, or like what Lindsay said of like not worrying about what weird facial expression I'm making or what my body is doing. But like that actually, I only have to do these like 12 lines and I only have to be available for Danielle. And I know what the arc of this scene is and I know where I'm supposed to go. And like, and then you just do it. And I think like and then you get to go back. I mean, like the beauty of it is like, you get to, when you learn more information, it's not fixed. We did get to go back. So there is like a kind of an elevation, I think, as we learned more about the play. But like just the focus that it requires is totally different than the focus and energy that I experience when I'm doing a play. I'm like, my brain is doing two things at once in a play. And in this, it was so important that we just pay attention to this one moment with this one person.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where characters talk in the third person as if they're talking to the audience. I think Scotch, Riley, Racine, yeah, Man doesn't do it. She doesn't do it. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if you had any thoughts about what it would be like, what your relationship would be like to the audience if you had those third person addresses and how those would change. Because that's the thing, like, it's the thing where, you know, a play evolves over time the more you do it in front of an audience and they inform you so much. We're kind of left to our own devices. I hope we can do this in front of an audience someday, but so let's make that happen. Did you want to talk anything about, oh, go ahead, Aaron.
I do miss, I kind of miss the thought of discovering where they would have laughed, because we did talk here and there about, because there's plenty of humor in it, but of course we didn't get the opportunity this time to, you know, where the moments would have been where you would have held for a laugh. I know it's kind of almost absurd to talk about that with this particular play, but with the humor that's laced in there, I found that was the thing I was missing the most from a live audience, just because it's so heavy so much of the time.
Yeah. Tom Weaver, who, you know, we all know Tom, he says, my dream someday is to be actually live on radio. That's going to be amazing. James wants that too. Lee, all this. Maybe we'll do a live production of this someday.
Isn't it funny though? I have to tell you, that's way more terrifying to me than actually being on stage in front of people live on the radio. I don't know. I don't know why that strikes fear in my heart.
Well, all right. I mean, I think this is a good place to. Oh wait, we got a question from Blanca, the one and only Blanca Ziska. How did it feel to hear yourself and be your own audience? I know for me listening to it, I come in like 15 minutes left for the play, and I'm listening to everybody. I'm like, oh man, this sounds so good. I hope I don't sound like an idiot when it gets to my part. And you know, so when I started talking, I was like, oh geez, here we go. But it was an interesting. I was like, oh, that's what I sound like. Oh, that's what I. Yeah, it started to be a different relationship that you don't get to do on stage. How about for any of you listening to it the first time?
I took a drink before my scene started. That's all I say.
I listened to it and I started sometimes thinking of other takes and was like, ooh, that's a good take, Chris. I didn't even remember that one. Or like, I was like, oh, that's a choice. I like that, and how it connects. Like I didn't think about it when we were doing it, the whole thing. You know, the macro, like Brett was saying. I was thinking of like micro scene by scene because we were kind of there for each of the scenes to see it happen, and we did the different takes, and so hearing it back, I got to connect the whole story, and it was really beautiful. I thought, I was like, oh, wow, I'm surprised that I sound like that. I was like, I can have a career in that. That's pretty cool. I think we all could. Like, I mean, we sounded really great, and I started to think about the journey. I could see the arc of the characters, like in the beginning, where Anaya was, where we both, Anaya and I, were in the beginning versus where we were at the end, in the journey that was taken even just in our voices. I thought was really fascinating.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like what the process is. What about this play? I mean, this play is amazing. Like reading the script, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then you start to break it apart like you always do in the rehearsal room, and you start to find, you know, the allegories and the bigger things, particularly this question about like God and calling your mother God, and what gods are to different people, and this sense of revenge, and you know, in these twins, one's really out for revenge and the other one's maybe not, but kind of. Yeah, I don't know. Before we kind of wrap up with this cafe chat, how about some responses about to the actual play itself and working on this material that is you know, biblical, literally. Uh,
I have to say, this play to me, the thrill of it. I love Greek drama. I just always have. It's been my like personal. I just love the Greek drama, and this piece fit in that category for me, in that it felt the size of it, the sort of mythology, if you will, behind it, that sort of motivating things. There's a sort of big kind of universal understanding of it. It felt very Greek to me, this piece. And and the, oh my God, the chance to really like do such an unusual story that is so particularly Black too, was freaking amazing. That part, I go, oh. And the violence in it was interesting, but I don't know, like the violence didn't freak me out in the way that violence often does, because it also seemed pointed to something much bigger. Um, I just think that Ms. Harris wrote an amazing, wonderful play. And I would love the chance to revisit it again. And her writing is exceptional. And the beauty of the words on the page.
Mm.
Just looking at the script is a whole artistic visual experience. And then to begin to put your mouth around the words and the shape that she's made, the path, and find your way through is like this whole other experience. I mean, her creative mind. Oh,
Mhm.
I hope one day to meet her.
Yeah, I found myself when I was listening to it just wrapped up in the desire for violence, the desire for revenge that people have, and what you do with it or not do with it. And I found that like that duality of like we all want it sometimes. We all like what it. I think it's Racine's line of like I just want to know what it feels like to step on somebody, or something like that. And after having being stepped on, it's such a such a full idea in this play. Um, that's great. Any last comments before we head out? Because cafe chats are casual. Thanks everybody for joining, and for everybody who submitted questions. This play was a journey, to say the least, in getting something out there, and going from a stage fully realized, ready to go stage play, and then switching gears into what you all listen to. So thank you for listening. Thanks for being part of our cafe chats. Thank you all, my cast members. Have a good evening, y'all.